Hey everyone, I've got a very special Ferrari in the shop today, so I'll not only talk rarity and value, but why exactly is it here and why it needs some attention. So the Ferrari I have here is in fact an 812 Competizione, or Comp for short. So it is the 830 horsepower naturally aspirated V12 and goes, I think, 0 to 100 in 2.85 from what I've researched. So now I don't like to, in my videos, I've never, or even in any of my social media posts, I never really get into the whole value of a vehicle. But given this vehicle was probably just over $1 million brand new back in 2022, or probably prior to that, and given the rarity of it, low numbers, and the fact one just sold in the US, similar spec to this, for $2.5 million, you can't sort of blame me for bringing up that in this video. So it just sort of gives you an idea of the actual rarity and maybe the collectability of this vehicle, if not now, definitely in the future. So this one here, it has only traveled 140 kilometers. So, and I've been keeping it sort of clean since new, in a private collection, not in the workshop, so it's never been here. So we've never really had a chance to have a really good look at it, like as in under the lights. I've brought the light around and I've tried to sort of get an idea, just to sort of understand whether something would need to be done in the future. But yeah, we've never had it in the shop. So with the circumstances, we were actually supposed to be doing another vehicle, and it, like these old vehicles or new vehicles or any sort of vehicles, something can always pop up whether it doesn't start or there's an issue, and we swapped we swapped it for this one, which I'm pretty glad we did, because it's finally given me the chance to have a real close look at this one under the lights, and yeah, sort of see what if anything needs to be done, that's for sure. Now, I've always thought this Ferrari was good in terms of defects compared to other Ferraris and Lamborghinis I've detailed in the past. But once I got it in and started to strip back all those waxes and sealants over the last 2 or 3 years, we started to see the common sanding or whizzer marks that renowned unfortunately in these sort of cars from new. Given that this Ferrari hasn't been driven and it's in pretty good shape, in terms of cleanliness, I didn't really see the point of flooding it with like snow foams and water, to not only have to try and chase all those sort of watermarks and suds out of all the millions of crevices in this vehicle. And anyone that's detailed a Ferrari knows that there's so many nooks and crannies that you can do all you want, but if you're foaming and you're letting things sit and water, you potentially can't even blow it all out. So yeah, it was. I took a different process on that. So firstly, I chose to use a waterless wash method, which is, because the car only just cleaned it not long ago. So we just went with that to make sure there was no dust on it. And then we just used like a polish and residue remover. Probably did that a couple of times. And then as we're doing that, we could definitely start to see some of the defects that I hadn't been able to see over the last couple of years while cleaning it. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll jump out now and I'll walk you through some of these areas, and you'll probably be quite surprised at the location of these defects in terms of the vehicle, and how they actually left the factory in Italy like this as well. So let's have a look. Right. So the area that's probably the most surprising was the underneath of the boot lid here. So obviously I check everywhere that is obviously painted, and anything that's carbon fibre obviously has a clear coat as well. So once we pop this boot lid, we could definitely see that there was the buffer trails left over from the factory. So that was quite, surprising to see. I mean, we sort of see it on, I've seen it on engine covers and just, small marks and that. But you're not sort of used to lifting up the boot and then having to actually polish, underneath. Well, it's a boot, it's a rear window delete, so to speak, on this car. But yeah, it is, and the carbon fibre obviously runs, your carbon fibre fins as well. So it's a unique part to the car, and it was one of the most awkward, components to actually try and polish, because we had to sort of mask up all the boot area, so not that it would, it's that messy, but we didn't want anything dropping onto the Alcantara inside the actual boot area. So that was quite unique, and I've never had to do that before. So that's a first for in terms of me and Ferraris. And so the next area would be, sort of this area here, closer to these sort of fins. We found just isolated defects in there. Nothing that's probably common. I wasn't expecting that, especially tight up against the fin sort of area. That was another area that, and when I say these are all isolated, they're not sort of all over the vehicle. So it's we're not just polishing the whole vehicle for the hell of it. We're sort of locating and fixing each area as it's required. So if we don't need to use, some areas are going to need a little bit of a cut and then a polish. Some we can just get out with the polish. So you want this paint to obviously last a very, very long time. So another weird one here was these tail lights. I noticed there was a lot of compound in these sort of gaps. Obviously from the factory, but what was a bit sort of weird was all the lenses, all these were all stained, and to the point you couldn't just use something to clean it off. I had to mask up and actually give it a really sort of cut and a polish just to remove whatever it was on there. I can only assume, given that the compound was in there, that when it may have been cleaned or washed or whatever they've used is a combination of sort of compound and the residue just staining these sort of lenses here. So that was a bit of a unique one. There was either side of the badge. Obviously, they must use some sort of tool because it's just very unique to where the actual badge is. This lower black panel, which is normally these are always sort of prone to scratching in that, but this one had obviously the areas that were a bit tighter, such as in there and back here. They were obviously scratched up a lot more and a bit more lower into this lower panel as well. So we had to take care of them. So this is like stuff that I didn't see, just having it sort of clean, so to speak. So you're not looking for this sort of stuff until you actually stripped it down and you're really trying to pinpoint areas. So another sort of really tight isolated area was this area here. It's almost like a little triangle right here. So it's just sort of in there on both sides. Whether they just didn't get the buff sort of font all the way in there, but you could just see it wasn't so much scratch, it just sort of wasn't finished, like it was almost cloudy. on that side. And then what was quite funny, well, it's not funny, but we do look here as well, is this sort of area I noticed all here was all sort of scratched and scuffed. And furthermore, the carbon fibre door trim, you could just see sanding marks, especially in this side here, not so much the other side. So we had to sort of fix those areas up too. And then in terms, I think lastly, this door here, it's funny because we're jumping from side to side, but like I said before, we're just doing, concentrating on the areas that are actually a defect. So you could see sort of from about, so in this area here, again, just very slight remains of sanding marks in there. Now with the wheels, I sort of made the decision early on that I wasn't going to put it on the lift to remove the wheels for a couple of reasons. One, this vehicle has done no kilometres, you know what I mean? It's very minimal. And two, it's not going to do much more either. So I'm more thinking collectability, originality. I didn't want to risk putting it on, on the lift just to remove the wheels that are pretty much already clean. And as soon as you put a tool in there, you're gonna give it some sort of scuff or mark. And I wanted to avoid that. And I can clean the wheels and I can wax them as they are here. So yeah, I thought there's no point going down the route of risking putting on the lift. Yeah, might have made it a bit easier to polish and stuff like that, but I didn't see the need for that, especially with the polishing is all sort of isolated anyway, and the wheels, they don't need to be coated or anything like that. So, and they present a lot nicer in terms of showroom appearance with a nice clean and a very nice wax on them as well. So we even got into the calipers, even though it is quite tight. And then we sort of vacuumed, these the flute areas and all the underneath, just with a bit more of a crevice tool, so we could just clean that area up as well. Now the engine bay didn't go untouched either, and this is where sort of the bonus comes into actually not foaming and not washing and not flooding it full of water, is you don't get all those sort of watermarks that sort of make their way into the engine bay, given that there is some sort of gaps and stuff like that in the hood. Generally you pop it open and you have to sort of, follow them through. But in this case, we don't have to deal with anything like that. We can give the plastics a really good clean and then treat them as well, so they present well for many years. Yes, that sort of completes it. I mean, we also ceramic coated the paint, and because we're doing a bit of a show sort of detail, we waxed all the door jambs, all the carbon fibre panels. Whatever we could treat, we treated, bar the interior, which I'm sitting in now. Given that it's, we're not going to be spraying any chemicals or anything like that in here, and given that it's not going to see the light of day much, there's not much else that we can do in here. But like I said, we did polish the carbon fibre trim, and we also protected it and waxed it as well to give it a bit more depth. But what a such an awesome car, guys. Value aside, it's just an awesome car. I'm a bit of a Ferrari fan, so it was such a privilege and honour again to work on such a car. And hopefully the one we're supposed to get in comes in shortly, because that in itself is another fantastic car to see on the channel. So stay tuned, like, subscribe and share. Thanks for all your support, whether negative or positive for that matter. It all helps, and maybe we'll just give this a bit of another startup so we can move and take some photos. But we'll see you in the next one, guys. Thank you.